Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan. I'm a third-year PhD student, becoming a fourth-year PhD student, studying accounting at the University of Waterloo. It's been a while since I've actually done a sit-down talking video, and I really wanted to set the camera down and have a chat with you guys about a really amazing trip that I took over the past few weeks. If you've been following the channel, you might have noticed that I've uploaded a few footage from Hawaii, and I actually had an opportunity to go to Honolulu, Hawaii from June 1st to June 21st because I was attending a doctoral consortium at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. In case if you guys are interested, the conference is called the Hawaii Accounting Research Doctoral Institute. It's a 20-day doctoral consortium where PhD students from around the world come together. There was about 22 or 23 of us, I believe, and we pretty much spend 20 days talking and learning about accounting research. You can kind of think of it as summer school where we had 3 to 4 hour lectures per day with a guest speaker. We had papers we had to read. Some of us led class discussions, but obviously there was enough time to do some fun stuff around the island. So in this video, I really wanted to share my experience about going to Honolulu, Hawaii, the types of hikes that I did, the types of food that I ate, the touristy things that I did. And at the end of the video, I do want to share specifically how I felt about the HARDI conference overall, in case you are one of the few accounting PhD students who are following my channel. Since I live near Toronto, flying to Hawaii is a bit of a mission. So on June 1st, I took an afternoon flight from Pearson Toronto International Airport all the way to Vancouver. Now the flight itself was around 6 hours, and I got to the airport a little bit early because I wanted to use my American Express lounge passes. And this is the first year that I've actually gotten my American Express card, and I've been really loving these lounge passes because it just feels so nice having to have this exclusive experience where you can get free food, free drinks, and kind of relax and be less stressed when you're about to get on a flight. So I was able to check out the lounge and get a bunch of free food. I thought it was pretty decent. I was able to get a beer as well, so we're off to the right start. Now the flight was only 6 hours, so it wasn't too bad. I was able to catch a couple movies. Now when I landed in Vancouver, I only had a 2-hour layover, so I was a little bit worried that customs might take some extra time in case there was a lot of people at the Vancouver airport, but luckily it didn't take that much time at all. And I decided to use my second lounge pass at the Vancouver International Airport. Honestly, can say that the food at Vancouver a lot better than the food that I had in Toronto, and overall the lounge itself just looked really nice. There was pasta, they had all these desserts that was just absolutely amazing. Flying from Vancouver to Hawaii only took around 5 hours, which wasn't too bad. And so when I landed in Hawaii, I landed around 9-10 p.m. and I had to take an Uber from the airport to the University of Hawaii, Manoa. And over the course of these 20 days, I will actually be living at Freer Hall. It's pretty common for universities to use their residence buildings as conference housings during the summer term. And so over the course of the 20 days, I paid for a private room with a private washroom at Freer Hall. And Freer Hall itself is not too bad. If you go inside, it pretty much looks like a typical dorm. You have a single bed. I had a desk, I had some shelves to put my clothes on, and then I had my own private washroom, which was really important. Now, something that I learned about living in tropical places for the first time is that it's not uncommon to see bugs and cockroaches in the residence. Now, luckily for me, I didn't have that experience. I didn't run into a single bug in my room, but a couple of the people at the conference did experience a bunch of cockroaches in Freer Hall, so that is something to take note of. Unfortunately, a condition of living in Freer Hall is that you did have to purchase a meal plan. So this is taking me back right when I was an undergraduate student. So the meal plan that I purchased for the 20 days was 2 meal accesses per day. And so they give us this meal plan card that essentially every time we go in, we'll just swipe it and then we have access to the food that they're offering. So it was a buffet style, which meant that you can eat as much as you want. And overall the food options were okay. I'll say that some meals weren't the greatest, and you can kind of tell that the quality of the food wasn't as high, and sometimes it just tasted really, really bad. But on other days, it was actually not that bad. So I think breakfast is probably the best meal that they offer because you can't really go wrong with basic eggs, waffles, pancakes, fruit. When it came to lunch and dinner, it was either a hit or a miss. So on the days where the food was good was when they had like chicken thighs baked in the oven with the basic barbecue sauce. So, pretty simple, hard to mess up. They also had a lot of fries, burgers, and pizzas. I definitely tried my best to stay away from those as much as I could. So since we're talking about food, I want to share with you guys the different places that I got really, really good Hawaiian food on the island. The first location that I went to was actually Foodlands. So if you're unfamiliar, Foodland is a Hawaiian themed grocery store. There are tons of locations across the island, and there was actually one only a 15-minute walk from campus. And what's really cool about Foodlands is that they have a lot of prepared foods that you can quickly grab and go if you're in a hurry. And one of those items is their poke bar. Now, they have a lot of different type of selection in terms of their poke bar. They had like ahi, salmon, and a bunch of crazy flavors that I've never heard of in my life. The main reason why I wanted to go to Foodland was because I've heard that it's really, really good quality for a grocery store and it's really cheap. So I believe a regular poke bowl with one type of fish is around $7 or $8, and then a regular poke bowl with two types of fish was around $10 or $11. So that's honestly a pretty good deal because some of the other places that I was checking out cost around $15 to $20. You know, it comes with a bed of warm sushi rice. It comes with a poke that you choose. I was able to try different flavors. I had like spicy salmon, shoyu, ahi. I think I had ginger scallion at one point. And then on top, they'll sprinkle furikake. They'll have some sort of sweet sauce as well. And you can also ask for soy sauce in the bowl. Overall, I think Foodland is a really, really good introduction to the different types of poke you can get on the island just because it's so cheap and you get a pretty good amount for the price that you're paying. And I honestly think that the fish is pretty fresh. It isn't as good as some of the other places that I'm going to talk about in a second, but I think for the price and for the convenience, you definitely can't go wrong. Now, the next poke spot that I checked out was Off the Hook. Now, Off the Hook was highly rated when I was doing my research, and it was actually only 15 minutes away from the University of Hawaii campus. It was actually just 15 minutes north of campus. So super convenient. After one day of seminars, I decided to just take a little solo trip, walked up to Off the Hook. There was a bit of a line when I got there, and I decided to get the ginger scallion poke. And what's cool about this place is that they had multiple different types of toppings. You could get like tempura flakes on it, which was really cool because it added this nice crunch that I haven't experienced on poke before. And I believe the price came out to around $18 to $20, so definitely much more pricier than Foodlands. I gotta say, the taste of this poke was just out of this world. I can definitely say that the fish at Off the Hook just tasted a lot fresher. They didn't have anywhere to sit inside the restaurant, and unfortunately there wasn't a lot of seating options outside the restaurant, so I was able to find a patch of grass across the street and just kind of ate my poke there because that's where I saw a bunch of other people eating their poke as well. Really, really good. Highly recommend. You definitely can't go wrong with this place. The next poke place that I really wanted to try was Ono Seafood. And Ono Seafood, again, pretty close to campus. It was only around a 20-minute walk. And Ono Seafood was actually a really small place, but I've heard that the poke here is really, really good. So I had a chance to go there one random afternoon. Again, the poke is just super fresh. I believe I got the shoyu ahi, and overall, when I opened up the box, you can see all the toppings looked really good. The rice was super soft, super flavorful, and the poke overall was really, really good. Now, the place did have some seating outside the restaurant, and it was just absolutely packed when I visited. In terms of my favorite restaurant that I've been to on the island, it has to be Marugame Udon. But this is the first time I've ever tried it. I've heard really good things about it, especially because they make fresh udon noodles, and the prices of these noodles is so affordable. It's crazy. Like, you can get the basic udon noodle for about $5 or $6, and that's just ridiculously cheap. And the place has multiple flavors, so they have, you know, the regular broth, they had a curry option, they had sweet curry beef. So the location of this restaurant was actually on Waikiki Beach. Typically there is going to be a line when you go to Marugame Udon, but when we got there, the line was honestly not too long. It was only around 15 to 20 minutes. One time I went, it was actually no line, and I just walked right inside. The way that the restaurant works is that it's kind of like a school cafeteria. You pick up a tray and you kind of tell the person what type of noodle that you want. You'll pick up your bowl of noodles, and then after you get your noodles, they have a multiple varieties of tempura. So they had, you know, tempura imitation crab, they had tempura chicken, they had mushroom, vegetables, and they also had like spam musubi, just crazy things that you can add along with your noodles. So now the first time that I had these noodles, I got the sweet curry beef flavor. And honestly, I think this was hands down my favorite flavor that I've tried out of all of them, because the curry sauce was just so good. I really love Japanese curry. The beef was really tender, and the noodles themselves were just so chewy and had so much flavor. Udon noodles are like a personal favorite of mine, and overall the bowl, even just the regular size, was really filling for the price that they were charging. And when it came to the tempura, I really liked the imitation crab. Usually I'm not a fan of imitation crab, but for some reason when it came in this tempura, first of all, it was huge. And second of all, it just tasted really nice when it's deep fried. And then same thing with the tempura chicken. Again, super crispy. They did have like a sweet barbecue sauce that you can get on the side. So just dipping the chicken in that just made it taste so much better. I loved this so much that I ended up going to Marugame Udon a total of 4 times, I believe. 2 additional times with other people, and then 1 time by myself when I was just kind of exploring Waikiki Beach on my own. Hands down, if you get a chance to try out Marugame Udon, I highly recommend it. So far we've been talking a lot about savory foods, and Hawaii also offers some really good dessert options. And the one thing that you definitely need to try when you're at Hawaii is Hawaiian shaved ice. Never had Hawaiian shaved ice, but essentially what it is that they take a block of ice and they shave it so thinly that it creates the base of the dessert, and then they'll sprinkle some sort of syrup with different flavors on top of the ice, and then they'll add additional toppings like ice cream or fruit. And what's really surprising is that the shaved ice doesn't taste like ice or icy at all. It has a really smooth consistency. It honestly has, you know, the consistency similar to ice cream. And so when I was on the island, I had the chance to try multiple different Hawaiian shaved ice spots. Probably the place that I really liked the most was Ice Monster. Instead of having regular ice that's shaved and then putting syrup on it, they actually have flavored ice that they'll shave in their machine, and then they'll just put a lot of stuff on top. And for the small bowl that I got at Ice Monster, it was just a huge crazy serving for one person. The second dessert place that I had a chance to try was at Leonard's Bakery, and at Leonard's Bakery they actually make malasadas, and if you're unfamiliar with that, it's a type of Portuguese donut. Now the first time I heard of malasada was actually in the Pokemon game, where you can buy it as a food item to eat, but I've never actually had one in real life. And what's really nice and cool about this place is that when you order your malasadas, first of all, they come in a crazy amount of flavors. You have your typical flavors like no filling, icing sugar, cinnamon sugar, I believe, different fillings like chocolate, cream. They also had a crazy flavor called guava. But when you order your donuts, they actually come to you really warm, like as if they were just fried and taken out of the oil and they were just piped with the filling that you wanted. So I think I got the cream one and the chocolate one. The bag feels piping hot, and to me that's just customer service. Because when you get a donut here at Tim Hortons, I swear to God, that thing has been sitting on the shelf for hours and it tastes stale. But not at Leonard's Bakery. These donuts, probably one of the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Now, aside from these recommendations, I did have an opportunity to try random restaurants here and there. During the conference, they provided us lunch/dinner, I believe 2 to 3 times throughout the trip. And through those meals, I was able to try some more traditional Hawaiian foods. So, you know, a lot of fish, spam musubi I also had a chance to try, which, you know, I'm kind of okay on. I don't think it's the greatest food, or it's as good as how the internet hypes it, but overall I thought it was pretty decent. I also had a chance to try Hawaiian barbecue. I think the place that we went to was just a big letdown, because when we tried their Hawaiian barbecue pork, the pork was actually really dry and didn't taste that great. However, we did try their barbecue fish, and that was super tender, really juicy, and that was really good. Another place that I really liked was this authentic Mexican restaurant that's actually really close to campus. So after a day of intense hiking with 3 other guys, we came to this restaurant super hungry, a little bit late at night, and the decor of this restaurant was really nice. We're kind of sitting outside on the patio, and they had like these nice streamers kind of floating in the wind. And I just ordered a bunch of Mexican food. So I got carne asada. It came with the carne asada, which is super tender, a bunch of rice. I believe it came with mole as well. And then I also got a fish taco just because I was super hungry. But I think that was probably one of the best Mexican foods spots I've ever had in my life. It was really good. The place was just packed with people coming in. So in addition to food, there's obviously a lot of fun things you can do in Honolulu. And when I did have off time from the conference, I did a lot of hiking, and I'm really happy to say that I had the opportunity to do 3 cool hikes in Honolulu. So I'll just talk a little bit about each one. So the first hike that I went to was Diamond Head. Now with Diamond Head, we went as a group of about 10 people from the conference. So once you get to Diamond Head, make sure that you make your reservation online, because if you don't have a reservation, they actually won't let you in. And at the base of the hike, they have a nice place where you can get some little gifts for your friends. They also have a washroom and then a place to refill your water bottles. That was really nice because not all places will have the ability for you to refill your water bottle or use the washroom. I'll say that overall Diamond Head was a very good beginner place for hiking, and as someone who doesn't really hike at all, or honestly doesn't do any cardio at all, I thought this was a good introduction to hiking in Hawaii, because luckily Diamond Head has a bit of a paved trail that kind of zigzags up the mountain, and so you're not really feeling the full elevation and steepness when you're doing the hike. It's a lot more I guess manageable as you're making your way up. Now we did go in the middle of the afternoon, and it was really hot, and the sun is just really beating down on you. And I believe near the second half of the hike, I was just absolutely dying. I was completely drenched in sweat. I was taking a lot of breaks. And at some parts of the hike, it was really cool because they actually carve part of the hike right through the mountain. So there was one part where it was just complete pitch black, super dark, and you had to kind of go through, and that was kind of cool. And then I believe at the last bit, just before you reached the top, there was just a lot of stairs you had to conquer and get to the very top. But once you do get to the very top, I will have to say that the view is absolutely worth it. It only took about, I believe, an hour or maybe an hour and a half to get all the way to the top, but you can see absolutely everything. You can see the ocean, you can see the city, you can see pretty much the entire island, and we were able to get some really cool pictures up there. Honestly, the view is something that it's so hard for me to explain, but when you get up there, you'll just understand how amazing that view is. And so Diamond Head, really great first time hiking in Hawaii. I definitely recommend you check it out. The second hike that I did was Tantalus, and it's super close to the campus. The hike itself, you're going straight into the jungle. There is no pre-paved path, and the path that you're walking on, it's really muddy. It has a lot of tree roots. It just kind of, you know, bends and turns in the jungle as you're going up the mountain, and so it really feels like you're doing like a real hike. Like you feel immersed in the environment. A lot of huge trees, a lot of foliage. I just thought it was a really cool experience. And actually the day that we were hiking, it was raining half the time. And so sometimes I kind of felt a little bit worried because you're walking along this ridge that feels really like thin. And with the rain coming down, if you're not wearing proper hiking shoes, it feels like you're kind of slipping on those tree roots and you don't have the best grip. And you can clearly see if you just move maybe like a meter to the left or to the right, like you just see like where you could fall and, you know, roll down the hill. So had to be super careful, but I really like this hike because it was just so immersive in terms of, you know, hiking up the mountain. It does come with an absolutely amazing view. Again, you can see the city, you can actually see Diamond Head in the distance. I didn't like how there's actually some foliage kind of blocking part of the view. But overall, again, the view was just absolutely amazing, and it was a really fun experience hiking with those guys. This hike did take longer for us. I think it took us a total of 2 hours because it took like 40 minutes to go from campus to the base of the hike. And then from the base of the hike to go up, I think it took like another hour, maybe an hour and a half to get all the way up there because it was just so long. And again, I was just taking a lot of breaks because hiking and cardio is not my forte, but Tantalus, if you get an opportunity, really fun. Now the last hike that I did was Koko Head. Now Koko Head is hands down the most physically demanding thing I've ever done in my life. I've seen videos of Koko Head on the internet before deciding to go on this hike, and it just looks absolutely intimidating, especially when you're at the base of the mountain and you look at the steps that go pretty much in a vertical straight line all the way up into the heavens. It just looks absolutely crazy. It kind of looks like, you know, the steepness reminds me of like when you're on a roller coaster, for example. It just looks really intimidating. But me and 2 of my friends from the conference decided to tackle this head on. And I will say that at the beginning, it feels like it's not too bad because the elevation is very low. But once you reach the halfway point and you're starting to go up, it's just super, super steep. It's pretty much a Stairmaster on steroids. So with this hike, I was definitely taking a lot of breaks. There's no shade to be found along the paths, so the sun is just beating down on your back. But one good thing is that when you do decide to take a break and you're sitting down on the steps, you can like see how much progress you've made. Now, part of the hike that was really scary for me was actually this section where the steps were actually floating and not on the ground. After constantly taking breaks, I did make it to the top, and I have to say, I think the views at the top of Cocoa Head are the best views that I've seen compared to Diamond Head and compared to Tantalus. Unobstructed views, you can absolutely see the entire island, you see the ocean, and you can actually get really close to the edge of the top and take some really crazy pictures that makes it look like you're actually like literally on the edge of the hike. I think that Cocoa Head was an absolute crazy experience. It's not that long actually. I think it only took us maybe 45 to 50 minutes to get all the way to the top. Highly recommend you do it, even though it looks really scary. I think it's an experience that you'll definitely never forget. Now, in addition to hiking, I did do a bunch of other fun things. So I did go to Waikiki Beach a lot because I wanted to check out the touristy spots where all the people were hanging out, check out all the stores, check out the hotels, and definitely check out the beach. So I did spend a few days, swimming along the beach, and I have to say the water along Waikiki Beach is just absolutely super warm. The waves that were coming in and crashing onto the beach were just insane. And there's so many people around, like people were kind of, surfing, they were paddle boarding, there were people on boats. It's just a really lively experience. And I really like going to Waikiki Beach during the night as well because you can see the amazing views of the sunset. The entire sky just goes orange and red. Definitely check out Waikiki Beach. I think it's a really cool place to kind of just relax, get away from the research and the conference side of the trip, and just pretend like I'm on vacation. Now, there was one day out of the conference that was really special. It was actually between our first and second speaker, I believe, and two faculty members from the University of Hawaii, and these guys are the co-chairs of the conference, actually rented out two vans and drove a bunch of PhD students around the island, checking out some of the cool spots that Hawaii has to offer. Now, we checked out some really, really amazing locations. I just want to give a shout out to those two professors for, just taking the time to, take us around and show us the island, just being attentive and everything. The first place that we went to was Nuuanu Pali Lookout, and this was one of the best views of Hawaii I've ever seen. It's this lookout point that's just right off the highway, I believe, and then you can see this crazy wide view of Hawaii. You see the ocean, you see mountains. It's just crazy how vast of a sight you get. And so that was actually my first amazing view of Hawaii I got on the trip, and I was just absolutely amazed at what I was looking at. The second place that we went to that I really, really liked on this day was called the Valley of Temples. Now, my understanding of this place is that it's a mountain in Hawaii, and different parts of the mountain is dedicated to different types of religions. And so we went to the part where I believe it was more focused on, the Asian religions. Came across this really beautiful temple. Now, I've seen a few of these, in Canada, but this was just even more beautiful because it had this really long bridge that went to the temple. You're surrounded by like this mystic mountain, and there was this huge pond in front of the temple that was just filled with koi fish, and there was just trees and bamboo everywhere. It honestly looked like a scene out of a movie. It was just so beautiful. The next thing that we did on this day trip is we went to a place called Chinaman's Hat. Now, Chinaman's Hat is kind of like this mini standalone island that's just off the shore of Hawaii. And I've heard that in really low tide, you can actually kind of swim or boat all the way out to the island. So again, kind of cool that we were able to check out this place. And then after that, we did end up going to the North Shore, which was kind of the destination of this day trip. We were able to go up there, check out the beaches. Unfortunately, it was really, really hot the day that we were going. And by the time we got to the North Shore, it was around mid-afternoon, so the sun was just beating down on us. So we didn't spend a lot of time at the beach, but overall that day was just really fun because I think it was the first day in the trip. It was the first day in the conference where we had some free time to do some cool stuff. And again, the fact that those two faculty members just kind of drove us around and just gave us an amazing experience was just absolutely crazy. Now, one of my favorite activities that I did on the island was actually attend the free fireworks show that happens every Friday, hosted by the Hilton Hotel at Waikiki Beach. Now, apparently this hotel just has a lot of money to blow because every Friday they do this 5-minute fireworks show. And I really wanted to go because I am a sucker for fireworks. Like, I love fireworks during Canada Day. I love it during New Year's Eve. And so I really wanted to come check out the fireworks. And so that day I did go to the Hilton Hotel. I got on a spot on the beach because they do shoot the fireworks off the beach and over the ocean. And this fireworks show is actually pretty good. Granted, it was a little bit short. It was only 5 minutes, but it was absolutely free. And the fireworks just looked absolutely amazing, you know, shimmering off the ocean. And people were actually swimming in the ocean right under the fireworks, which is just crazy to me. And the last maybe 20 seconds of the fireworks show is just when they just unleashed everything into the air, and it was just a spectacular sight to see. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about HARDI, and if you are an accounting PhD student and this is an opportunity that you can apply for and you are able to get funding to cover the cost of this trip, then I highly recommend you consider doing it because I think that it's one of the best doctoral consortiums I've ever attended, and I think that going through this experience can definitely make a big impact in your progress as a PhD student. So on a high level, it is a 20-day doctoral consortium, and what that means is that I believe 20 to 25 students from different universities around the world get together to talk about accounting research. So most of the schools in this program are from the United States. I was the only one from Canada. We had a few students from Europe, had a few students from Hong Kong, and we had a couple students from Australia. So, you know, a really nice international group of accounting PhD students getting together. Oh, and we also had a couple students from Hawaii as well. So over the course of the 20 days, we actually have daily seminars, and these seminars are led by 4 different guest speakers, and these 4 guest speakers are considered top researchers in different fields of accounting research. And when I mean top, I mean like these guys are like super famous. They publish a lot in the top tier journals. You know, they are what PhD students aspire to be, you know, when they graduate. So we had 2 guest speakers in financial accounting. We had 1 guest speaker in tax and 1 guest speaker in audit. And then on one of these days, we also had a guest speaker from FASB, which is the Financial Accounting Standards Board. And during these seminars, there is a lot of work. So each seminar is around 3 to 4 hours, depending on the day. And each seminar, you're expected to participate and lead discussions in different papers that are assigned before the start of the conference. So typically each day you'll have maybe 3 to 4 papers that you're expected to read, understand, and then contribute to the discussion at large during the class. Now, I made the mistake of not reading the papers beforehand, and if you do get a chance to go to HARDI, I highly recommend that you do read them beforehand because these papers definitely take a bit of time to read, especially since I'm a bit of a slow learner. It takes me around maybe 1.5 to 2 hours to go through one paper and kind of understand what's going on. And so when you're being assigned 4 papers a day, you can just imagine how busy I was on some of these days where we would have a 3 to 4 hour seminar, and then I would just go back to my dorm room or the library on campus and just read papers until I was comfortable enough to talk about them for the next day's seminar. So during these seminars, you are able to learn a lot about the different papers that are being covered. And what's really cool is that, you know, a lot of the papers that were assigned to me, I did not read in the past. So I was exposed to new accounting research that I wouldn't have been exposed to if I didn't attend HARDI. And what's really also interesting is that these guest speakers provide a lot of insight knowledge in terms of, you know, how they come up with a research idea. They give some feedback on the review process. They also share their opinions on different types of accounting research. And it's just really cool to hear what they're thinking of. Another really thing that I liked about the guest speakers is that some of them actually dedicated one-on-one time slots to actually talk to you, the student, individually about your research. And so I definitely took advantage of this opportunity. I signed up for one of these one-on-one sessions, and then I believe for 15 to 20 minutes, you're pretty much just talking about the type of research that you do. So I shared a little bit about what I'm thinking of doing for my thesis proposal, and you're just getting some feedback from these experts in the field about whether or not the idea sounds good, doesn't sound good, whether it provides enough contribution. Meeting these guest speakers and talking to them one-on-one is a really invaluable experience. Another thing that I really liked about this conference is just meeting all of these different PhD students. Not a lot of people do a PhD in accounting, and if you're just kind of stuck within the community at your school, you may feel that there aren't a lot of people that you can relate to and talk to accounting research about. But through HARDI, I was able to meet upwards of 20 people who are also going through the same daily grind as I am. And so we were able to really bond over the fact that we're all kind of pursuing this common goal. We had a lot of fun sharing our experiences about our PhD programs back at our universities, just talking about how our thesis progress is going. And I have to say that the people that I met at HARDI, especially the faculty and the students, they were all super, super nice. I definitely feel like I made some connections at HARDI. And that's really cool because, these connections can potentially lead to co-authorships down the road. Or honestly, maybe they're just going to be future friends that I meet at future accounting conferences. Another thing that I liked about HARDI is that it kind of gives you a little bit of a look into how other PhD students are performing. So at the end of the day, unfortunately, we are going to be competing against each other for the very few accounting professor jobs that are going to be offered around the world. Personally, it was kind of eye-opening to see how good some of these students are, and the fact that I still need to continue to work hard and continue to put a lot of hours into my thesis and into my research projects. So, one thing that I kind of got out of this experience was that people are working so hard, across the world, and I need to continue working hard in order to, be competitive. So with that being said, how do I rate HARDI 2023? I would honestly give it a 10 out of 10. Hands down, the best PhD experience that I've had in my life. Honestly, probably going to be the most impactful experience I have. So I think that if you have a chance to apply to the program, please send an application in, talk to your director, see if you can get some sort of funding to cover the cost. Because unfortunately, this is a very expensive trip when it comes to the flight, the room and board, then obviously, having some fun money to spend on things when you're on the island. It's definitely not going to be cheap, but if you are able to get a portion of it covered, I think you should definitely come here. So that's all I have for this video. Thanks again to everyone who subscribed to the channel and everyone who is following my PhD's journey. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.